Hello there, welcome to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug and I'm back with another Pen Resurrection Sunday video. Only this is an update to my last episode where I showed some pens that I have dead on the slab ready for resurrection. I'm updating because while I've been traveling, I've added to the pen cadaver count by hitting some antique shops in the Niagara area. And I have 3 new old pens to show you today. So let's take a look right now. And while I was flying here, I took the opportunity to showcase a few of the pens that I brought with me. I brought 4 pens with me. The Peniter Modern Times, which I've already done a review of. The Peniter TTT, or Twin Tank Touchdown. A new pen from Gravitas, the Gravitas Vacuum Filler. And another pen from Gravitas. This is a traveling fountain pen, and I give an overview of these 3 pens while I was on the flight. So let's take a look at that video right now, and then I'll come back to the new old pens that I purchased since I've been here. So I thought while we're at 40,000 feet here that we'd do a little bit of an overview of the pens that I brought with me on my trip. And the coolest thing I just brought with me, I just received from Gravitas Pens. That's Ben Walsh in Dublin, Ireland. And he sent me this lovely travel fob. This is actually a pen. This is an ink supply. That's my house key, and that's a USB. And it's all on a nice little lanyard that you can slip around your wrist so that you don't get lost. Here's the pen. Comes in a nice little plastic tube that just slips off. And there's the Gravitas pen. It's stainless steel. It's a pocket pen. It has the Gravitas, there we go, Gravitas logo etched into the bottom. And then it unscrews. It unscrews and you have a nice large section, number 6 size in it. And the bottom of that section is threaded, so you can put the barrel of the pen in there and thread it on, and it becomes a relatively normal size pen. It has Gravitas on that steel number 6 size nib. The section unscrews, and it takes standard international cartridges. No converter, just a cartridge. And that's why it's safe to take on an airplane as well. If the cartridge is full or empty, you have no problems. If it's half full, yeah, not so much. Screw that back together again. Put it quickly back in its case. And if you need ink, then you just unscrew this little container. And there's a couple of ink cartridges in there. Should show you that I took some empty standard international cartridges and I filled them with Conpecky and then just put hot glue on the top to seal it. So that's my travel ink. So you don't have to be stuck with boring old glue. You can have Conpecky too while you travel. I brought my Italian pens case, magnetic closure. That was a gift from Joel. And I brought 3 pens with me. There are 2 Peniters. This is a Peniter Modern Times. This is a Peniter Twin Tank Touchdown. And the 3rd pen is another Gravitas. This is the new vacuum filler from Gravitas that Ben sent me, and it has a twin tank as well. Now, the thing with the vacuum filler is it has a stopper valve right here, so any changes in pressure on this aircraft won't affect the ink going in and out of this nib because this whole chamber here is sealed. So even if you have air in here, the air pressure change isn't going to affect the ink going through because the whole thing is sealed shut. But before I flew, I made sure when I opened that valve, I opened this valve, and I tapped this to make sure all that ink from the section was down inside the lower part in the large chamber of ink, so that this had no ink in it at all, because pressure will affect that little bit of ink right in there. But it's a lovely vacuum filler. It posts beautifully. No clip. Beautiful posting. And I filled it with ancient copper from Diamine. So that's the Ben Walsh Gravitas vacuum filler. Then there's Dante Del Vecchio's vacuum filler. This is the Niter TTT or Twin Tank Touchdown. It is a vacuum filler, and it has two chambers as well as a magnetic cap. And I again tapped this down to make sure all that ink that was there was down inside this lower chamber. And of course, this one you just unlock it, twist, unlock. Again, this was fairly full. That's the way you want to travel with these things, so that they're full, so that the air pressure doesn't affect them. Now let's see how this writes. My wife and I took a day to visit some of our favorite places in the Niagara Peninsula of Ontario, Canada, where we both grew up. During the tour of the beautiful wine country, Ontario, we stopped at some antique shops in some lovely places like Fonthill, Virgil, and Niagara-on-the-Lake. At the first shop, I asked the proprietor if he had any fountain pens. He pointed to a cup on the counter and said, "Whatever you find in the cup, $5. The cup was full of old plastic ballpoints emblazoned with advertisements for such illustrious businesses such as Stan's Auto Body and Lube and Mac's Milk. But in the case under the counter, I spied an old blue plastic case that said Parker on it. Here's the case. Inside was this pen. I held it up and asked him, "How much for this one?" Without looking, he said, $5. I handed him a $5 bill. If you pay cash here, there's no sales tax. And came out to the car yelling to Win, "Start the car! Start the car!"
Have a nice day. Thank you. Start the car! Start the car!
Because I had snagged a 1960s Parker 45 Flighter for $5. Granted, it has a steel nib, not gold, but it's easily replaced for gold, and these Parker 45s are excellent fountain pens, and I've always wanted a Flighter version. I've had a few of these over the years, and this one's very, very nice indeed, especially for $5. Then we drove to the historic town of Niagara-on-the-Lake and had lunch at the Niagara-on-the-Lake Golf Club, overlooking the Niagara River and Old Fort Niagara across the river in New York State. This was one of my mother's favorite places to eat when she was alive, and I spent a lot of time in Niagara-on-the-Lake in my early theater career at the world-famous Shaw Festival Theater. We stopped at a very large antique shop along the way down the Niagara Parkway, heading back to St. Catharines, my hometown. It was just about closing time, so I asked to be directed to any fountain pens. The very helpful owner opened a case that had a lot of old Schaefer student pens from the 1960s and 70s, but I spied this celluloid Waterman. Look at this. This is some of the most gorgeous deep blue, almost galaxy celluloid I've ever seen. And I believe this is a Waterman Stalwart from the 1940s. There's no clip and no indication that it ever had a clip, but I'm sure it did. It's a lever filler, of course, and the sack inside is nice and crunchy the way I like them. And the nib is 14 karat gold and looks like it's in excellent shape. This one will clean up very nicely. So, sold. The proprietor asked me again if I had looked closely at the selection of pens in that case, and I kind of glossed over them thinking that they were all the dollar student pens before I spied one that wasn't. And here it is. This is a 1940s Schaefer Sovereign touchdown with a 14 karat gold nib. And it's the open style nib. This is a steel cap with a gold filled clip, and the touchdown filler is in excellent shape. It even sucks up some water. I'll be anxious to take this apart when I get home to see if the sack needs replacing. And so there are 3 more pens to add to the slab in the lab to see whether they can come back from the dead. And I should also mention that just before I pressed record, I purchased this Parker Vacuumatic from the 1940s in silver pearl, and that should be in my mailbox by the time I get home. Another dead pen to look forward to. Well, this video just keeps on getting longer as I seem to be finding more and more vintage pens during my travels in Ontario. Yesterday we were visiting friends in the Toronto area, and we took a nice drive up the north coast of Lake Ontario to the charming town of Port Hope. We were there to see some theater, but right next to the theater was an antique shop, and I just had to go in, of course. It was a large 3-story shop, but I found a case full of pens within 10 feet of the entrance. The first thing I spied with my little eye was a Parker 75 silver Chevalet fountain pen and pencil set. I cautiously turned over the price tag, $525. Nope. Not if we want to eat for the next month at least. Then I saw this 1940s Esterbrook celluloid in decent shape. It has a steel nib that looks salvageable, and the sack is easily replaced. Then my eye fell on a gold Schaefer white dot. The shopkeeper was watching as I gently opened this case, pulled off the cap, and whispered, "Please, please, please be a fountain pen." And this is what I found. I don't know the year, but I'm guessing it's early 1960s. It's a Schaefer Imperial with a 14 karat gold Imperial inlaid nib, and it is a touchdown filler, and it appears that that touchdown sack is intact. Can't wait to try this out to see how it works. I've been wanting one of these pens for many years. And don't ask what I paid for it. I also picked up what appeared to be a Parker 21, but on closer inspection, the cap read "Made in China, Parker 51," and they wanted $30 for it. I don't think so. We're still traveling and going to be going further north in Ontario before heading back to Alberta. So this video might just keep getting longer. Until then, thanks for watching.
I made this.